It is the dream of virtually every professional football player to represent their country and play at major international tournaments, but for some players, that dream is taking a really long time to come to reality. There are some players who have completely given up on playing international football, but there are some others who are still holding out hope. Those are the guys we're here to talk about today. These are 8 top players who are still waiting for that England call. We'll start with Curtis Jones. The 25-year-old midfielder has been overlooked a lot by different England coaches, despite having been a first-team regular with Liverpool for years now. He received his first call-up back in 2024 as part of a preliminary squad ahead of the Euros, but he was later cut out of the final list. His England first-team debut came later that year, and many are of the opinion that he only got it because his former under-21 manager Lee Carsley was temporarily in charge of the first team at the time. But the permanent coaches from Gareth Southgate to Thomas Tuchel don't seem to have had enough trust in him. He was the man of the match in the under-21 Euros final back in 2023, helping England win that trophy for the first time in 39 years. Everyone thought that a performance like that would mean a smooth transition to first-team football, but it has not exactly played out that way. Now, here's the thing. Jones is also of Nigerian descent through his grandmother, so he could easily have chosen to pledge his allegiance to the West African Giants at any point, but he's decided to still continue waiting for the call from England. And you know whom this reminds us of? Tammy Abraham. He too has Nigerian origins and could have played for the Super Eagles. In fact, back in 2017, the president of the Nigerian Football Federation, who is friends with Tammy Abraham's father, claimed that the former Chelsea man had switched allegiance to Nigeria, but Abraham came out to publicly deny those claims. He would later say that there was no chance of him ever playing for Nigeria, showing his unwavering dedication to England. The striker has played a handful of games for the Three Lions, but his last England appearance came 4 years ago now. Since then, he's been waiting patiently for another call-up, but it doesn't seem like it's getting any closer. Now, from one former Chelsea attacker to another, let's talk about Callum Hudson-Odoi. The Nottingham Forest man has made a few appearances for the England senior team, but that was way back in 2019, 7 years ago now. Since then, he has been trying to do everything he can to impress the managers, but nothing has ever been enough. Last season, he was really brilliant for Forest. He scored the only goal against Liverpool to help Forest beat the Reds at Anfield for the first time in 55 years. He also did enough to help Forest secure qualification for European football in 30 years. But despite all of that, he never got that call up to the national team. At that point, many thought he would give up and consider switching allegiances to Ghana, another country he's eligible to represent through his parents, but it seems like Hudson-Odoi is still waiting for that call from England. Will he ever get it though? That's the big question. Another former Chelsea player on this list is Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. Compared to Abraham and Hudson-Odoi, KDH has never even received a first-team England call-up, but he still waits. He is eligible to play for the Republic of Ireland, and they have actually tried to get him to switch, but just last year, he turned them down, saying that he feels English and that it has been a lifelong dream of his to play for the England national team, so it is pretty accurate to say that he is still waiting for that call. Dewsbury-Hall has been doing pretty well since he moved to Everton at the beginning of the season, but he still wasn't considered for the England squad. Meanwhile, his Everton teammate James Garner got his first call up. What this means is that Tuchel is probably not even thinking about him at all for the World Cup. Considering Dewsbury-Hall is now 27 years old, he might have to start coming to terms with the possibility that that call from England might never come. So a switch to the Republic of Ireland might be wise if he wants to have a taste of international football before he retires. Now, Eddie Nketiah has already had a taste of senior international football with England, but it was nothing more than a taste. He has played only 17 minutes of football for the Three Lions, and that came in a friendly against Australia back in 2023. Since then, he has not received another call-up. After he broke Alan Shearer's record to become the England under-21's record goalscorer, it felt like his transition to the senior team would be smooth, but it has been far from that. And now that he no longer plays for Arsenal, you get a feeling that his chances of getting that call from England are now much slimmer. But it appears that the Crystal Palace man is still waiting. He is also eligible to play for the Black Stars of Ghana, but his decision not to make the switch yet is probably an indication that he's hoping that England will still come calling at some point. Another player who is still waiting is Harvey Elliott. He broke out years ago at Fulham as a 16-year-old, becoming the youngest player in Premier League history in 2019, before Ethan Nwaneri came around and broke the record 3 years later. After he moved to Liverpool in 2019, everyone thought that it wouldn't be long before we saw him playing for the England first team. But it's been more than 7 years now and we still wait. The likes of Kobbie Mainoo and Adam Wharton came after him and have received call-ups. They've even made it to a major tournament, but Elliott still waits. Until last year, he was still playing with the under-20s, but now that he has outgrown that level, all he can do is just wait for that call from the England coach. When will it come? Will it ever come? Well, I guess only time will tell, but he surely still has more hope than James Tarkowski, who, at the age of 33, has only made 2 England appearances, with both of them coming in friendly games way back in 2018. He's having a really good season with Everton right now, and he looks like he could really lead them to qualification for Europe, but in spite of that, he was not included in Tuchel's 35-man squad. And here's the thing, Tarkowski is eligible to play for Poland through his grandfather, but he has refused to make that switch, saying he has always seen himself as English, so playing for Poland would be difficult. Considering he is now in his 30s and no longer has much time left at the top level, there is a real possibility that Tarkowski will retire without ever playing competitive football at the senior international level, but he doesn't seem to care. It's either England or nothing, so he'll continue to wait for the call. Let's now wrap up with another centre-back, Tosin Adarabioyo. The former Fulham man is also eligible to play for Nigeria, but despite the rumours that were circulating last year, he has still not decided to switch. The London-born defender represented England at the youth levels, but still hasn't made his senior debut. Considering he's now 28 years old and his reputation took a massive hit after he moved to Chelsea in 2024, it feels like that call might never come for him. But the fact that he has still not made the decision to switch allegiances to Nigeria suggests that he is perhaps still waiting for the call. Over the years, we have seen players who have other options get tired of waiting and make a switch to other countries. Matty Cash switched to Poland, Aaron Wan-Bissaka switched to DR Congo, Ademola Lookman switched to Nigeria, Antoine Semenyo switched to Ghana, and Carney Chukwuemeka just very recently switched to Austria. Now, do you think some of these players we mentioned in this video will be making a switch soon, or will they continue to wait for that call from England? Tell us what you think in the comments. Also, tell us if you know of more players who are still waiting for that call from the England national team. But before we leave, it is important to mention that sometimes waiting actually does pay off. Take Fikayo Tomori, for example. Since his debut for the England senior team, he has made only 5 appearances. He was often overlooked by Gareth Southgate despite doing very well for AC Milan, and he could easily have switched to Nigeria at different points, but he decided to continue waiting for that call from England. And well, it has finally come again after 3 long years. He was included in Tuchel's most recent squad and now has a real chance of going to the World Cup with England in the summer. Do you know more players for whom it paid off to wait? Tell us about them in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye.